All right, so we're going. Okay, so I'm Vaughan Highfield from Total Payments, and I'm here today with Hyperion's Dave Birch and BBVA's Lewis Uguina. And we're just here to talk about the idea of rebuilding the mobile wallet. What can we do to make mobile wallets used by the most people? I mean, really, are they going to be the technology to replace plastic and cash eventually? So I just want to start by talking about what the mobile wallet landscape is currently. I mean, Dave, what are your opinions on the current state of the mobile landscape?
Well, I think that people have tended to see the mobile wallet as some kind of app that they're going to download and run. But I think a slightly different vision is beginning to emerge now, which is more of the mobile wallet as a kind of infrastructure for other applications. So if there's one general trend that I think it's worth highlighting in this field, and I think you can see this because of the recent announcements from Apple around Apple Pay, is that we're moving towards in-app payments as quite possibly the dominant online and mobile payment mode. So if I'm buying something in a shop or online or on the telephone or wherever else, I'll pay using something that's in the app on my phone. And you can already see from the response to things like Uber that when they've been enabled with the Apple Pay system, people absolutely love it. You can see that in the early feedback coming from San Francisco. And I think it works in the retail environment because the idea that someone can make a better payment experience for Tesco than Tesco can doesn't seem quite right to me. So it seems to be much more logical that I'll pay from inside my Tesco wallet, inside my Tesco app. Now, obviously, if I'm using lots of different apps to buy things, I use my Ringo app for paying at the train station. I use my Starbucks app for getting a cup of coffee. If I'm using all of these different apps, it would make a lot of sense for them all to share the same wallet infrastructure. And I think you can see us heading in that direction now. So, yes, if I was going to highlight one trend, I would say it's the shift towards in-app payments as the model.
So you'd say something like Apple Pay does that well, and the idea of Zap coming in as well is another piece of technology that could do that in-app payments rather than taking you out to a wallet.
Yes, well, I think I'm not absolutely au fait with Zap, but I don't think Zap works in-app at the moment. I think Zap bounces you out to your home banking application for authentication. But yes, I mean, the general principle holds, which is for most people, for most things that you want to do, there'll be an app. And it seems logical to pay from inside that app. And as soon as my Kentucky Fried Chicken app sprouts the Pay by Apple Pay button, then I'll use it.
Fair enough. Lewis, coming from the bank side of things, you've had an incredibly successful wallet with BBVA Compass. I mean, that obviously doesn't do in-app payments. That takes people out to their wallet where they then pay with their card or via NFC. I mean, what are your thoughts on the mobile wallet and mobile payments landscape then?
Yeah, that's true. So basically, for the first time, so we have been paying with plastic cards and many other, or cash or many other instruments in the last 100 years. And the big difference right now is with the wallet approach. You have some kind of augmented experience in the payment process. So I always want to say that it is very difficult just to innovate on the payment process by itself. So obviously you can use your fingerprint or you can use any other gadget to pay, but basically in the payment by itself, it's very difficult to innovate. But with wallets, for the first time in many years, we're able just to augment this process with many information from many different partners, and just to be sure that you can create a whole different experience in the moment of payment. So my vision is that we are going just to have a lot of different players on the market. So Apple Pay is one of them, but will appear many others, especially because from the brand's perspective, they prefer just to maintain the experience. So it's something that is going to happen, and probably, as they've said, so Kentucky Fried Chicken will have its own application, and the same with Walmart, and the same with Walmart or whatever. So it's something that is going to happen in the same way that in the last few years we have had millions of applications that are doing the same from different marketing perspective or from different customer experience. And what will happen probably is that in 2-3 years we will have one single wallet that will be able just to aggregate all the information of payments. Probably Apple's one will be one of them. But for this to happen, probably they need just to be able to open the ecosystem. Right now it's a closed ecosystem, so there is no way just to interact with the payment process by itself, and you just need to create several parallel lines of payment or parallel lines of experience. And it is something that, in my opinion, as soon as they open their ecosystem, in the same way that they have opened the Touch ID or biometric information or biometric authorization of the user, is something that will change dramatically the landscape of payments on the mobile, in the wallets.
I mean, do you think that Apple, this is to both of you, I mean, do you think Apple would open up the infrastructure behind Apple Pay for people to use?
Well, probably it's something that I don't know if it's a wish or it's a reality. But what we think is that Apple, in the same way that he's opening other environments that he usually had closed environments, he's opening many things. And payments is something that he can make a lot of money, not on the payment by itself, but everything related with the payment by itself. And I think that in the future, as soon as they are on the market, they will open to third parties, especially banks, because we are not competitors from Apple in the way that we are providing the payment method, that is the credit, debit, prepaid card.
Yes, I think that's right. Remember, the core of their business model is not around earning some transaction fees from the payments. I mean, they have a different picture here. So obviously, in the short term, the easiest way to get to market has been to use the existing credit and debit infrastructure. Well, when I say existing, you know, the tokenization layer of the credit and debit infrastructure, which is under construction at the moment. So that was the way to get things up and running. But if you look downstream, you could see rather obvious expansion in two directions. So the first is in Europe in particular. I mean, I don't know whether this will be the same dynamic in the US, but in Europe there's a logic to connecting directly to the bank account. And for many people, the sort of debit-like experience of clicking to pay with Apple Pay and having the money come straight from the account, either through a request to push through something like the faster payment service in the UK, or through some of the kind of Euro API interfaces that are being mooted in response to the European Commission's proposals on XS2A, you can see that as being a very logical development. The other direction you can see it going is that you can see, I think, people using the Apple Pay architecture for what you might call non-payment authentication. The fact that Apple Pay knows that it's you, knows that it's your phone, knows where you are, that's actually rather useful information in a lot of contexts other than payments. So you could also see a sort of, I don't know, it's probably a bit too spooky to call it Apple ID, but you could also see the wallet being used for more things than payments. And that would give app developers a common, strong security infrastructure for building other things on top. They're already experimenting with the idea that you can open your hotel room door using the Apple Pay infrastructure. I would have thought being able to open the door at home and log onto your computer and all sorts of other things might naturally follow. So you can see it expanding in at least a couple of directions. One is adding payment instruments beyond the credit and debit card. And the other is using the authentication and the framework for other applications.
So almost as if you imagine Apple Pay doing what people have always said the mobile wallet should be doing, is actually achieving something other than payments to get more people to start using the sort of payments side to it as well.
Yes, I think. I think for a long time, when we've been working on wallet strategies with clients, the way people generally put it is that the payment is table stakes. You have to have the payment, otherwise you don't have a wallet infrastructure. Nobody is going to leave home with a wallet that doesn't have a payment instrument inside it. But actually, if you look at the big picture, the payment instrument might not be the most important thing. It's not the most important thing in my wallet right now. The important things in my wallet right now are things like my driving license and so on, So these identity-related components, as you look downstream, could well be more important. But you have to have the payment to get started, yeah.
Lewis, what's your sort of stance on seeing what a mobile wallet should be able to do, seeing as you helped develop BBVA Compass, which primarily just does payments?
Yeah. Well, the idea is that once you have the wallet infrastructure and you have the wallet ecosystem in place, you can do many different things, because the wallet, as Dave said, well, is not only the payment instrument. It isn't only your ID or your authentication or authorization for anything. The wallet basically is an aggregation of many different things that happen before you're going to pay, that happen after you're going to pay. So the idea that the number of systems, product, services, and so on from a bank's perspective that you can put on the wallet are incredible. So what's happened before? So many different connections between or among different players, not only coupon providers, but also merchants or big retailers or whatever, with the bank and with the user, plus the payment. That is something that is one shot. And what's happened after? It's something that we are investing a lot on that. So we launched the wallet in January this year. So far, we have like near 500,000 users downloaded the unique users downloaded the wallet, and so far like 400,000 active users are every week using the wallet on average. So we are processing more than 2.5 million transactions per month in a monthly basis using the wallet in not in United States especially, but in Europe, where the footprint of the contactless technology is much higher than in United States. So, for example, in countries like Spain, the contactless penetration is like 67%, with cities like Barcelona, Madrid, Sevilla, or many others with 90% of market penetration or footprint in the country, or many countries in the north of Europe with almost 100% penetration of contactless. So the idea is that this is not only for payment. This is just to create a holistic user experience, because at the end, what usually happens is that the wallet and also the transactions that are linked to the wallet is something that we do many different transactions per day. So the idea that with every transaction, we are able just to create some kind of link with the user, some kind of connection, just to provide more information, just to know better the customer, because at the end, the information that we have from the customer and the information that we see on the customer is something that help us a lot to provide better services and better products. And also, it's something that, as Dave said, we see many different businesses on top of the wallet, especially in the banking industry, where security and trust is something that is really important.
Oh, sorry, David, was this me?
I was going to ask Luis, actually, because I'm not familiar with the Spanish environment, but I'm just curious. Is there a good take-up of contactless payments amongst Spanish consumers anyway? So do they see it as just a natural extension, or do they see the wallet as something different and new?
Well, we have been using contactless card, so the physical plastic card, in the last probably 5 years. So every bank is issuing right now contactless cards, so it's something that is not unusual. The big difference with the wallet is that now they have more features surrounding the plastic. So so far, if you want to apply any coupon, you need just to cut the paper and just put the coupon, or just to make a photo or whatever. Right now, the beauty of the system is that you just, in one given moment, you just scan the coupon or choose the coupon, and all the magic happens in the point of sale. So without worrying about anything except paying the goods or the service. So the people knowledge has increased a lot in the last probably 2-3 years. Also, all the news around the contactless environment, so different products, different services, different companies, startups launching new services. Obviously, Apple and Google, but especially Apple, has created a very good both in the market about the mobile payments and contactless payments. So what usually happens here is that it's something that will happen probably in the United States with Apple Pay or any other system, is that we think that the big issue is not on the consumer side, because people really want to use mobile payments and just to use the mobile for everything, not only for opening the door on the car, on the hotel, but also just for pay and for receiving everything on the mobile. What we see is that the big issue that we usually have is in the merchant side, because it's you need to change the experience on the merchants, and they are the ones that are really suffering all those new systems, changing every year the way you are dealing with payments. Now the chip and PIN, probably in the future a different one, something that in the United States will happen in October next year, when you are moving from traditional payment to the chip and PIN with EMB. So this is something that we need to collaborate, not only Apple or Google and the bank. So I think that the whole ecosystem needs to work in the same direction, just to be sure that we have one single experience in the point of sale, but from the merchant's perspective. It's not the customer's. The customer can use the fingerprint or can put the PIN or whatever, but the merchant needs to understand what's the meaning of a new payment system, and they need to be sure that they are going to have the money on the account at the end of the day. So with many news appearing on the market about hackers and issues with payments, with hurdles on phones or whatever, I think that this is something that we need to work together.
So would you say that the issue around mobile wallets is more about educating the merchants rather than educating the customers?
Yeah, that's my opinion. So the merchant, obviously, if the user is able to pay with the phone, he is going to make a great effort just to learn how, especially with new technologies or with new systems like Apple's One. It's very easy. You just get your phone, you just put your finger, and you just tap the phone on the point of sale. It's very easy, very convenient, and the user experience is extremely good.
But it's also true, I think, that some of the merchants haven't thought how these things are actually going to work, because I saw some messages coming back from the US yesterday from some people saying it was ridiculous that in some merchants you tapped and paid with your phone, which was terrific, but then you still had to wait and sign you had to sign a pad somewhere, and you had to press buttons to say that it was going to be credit or debit, or you were or weren't going to donate $1 to charity, or blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, the merchants do have to make some effort if they're going to make a great customer experience, because it means they have to reorganize the way things are done slightly at point of sale. This is why I suspect that for many merchants, it's going to be a more attractive strategy to push people into the app and away from point of sale, so that they don't have to spend the money on upgrading the point of sale systems or installing them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true, because also as we are migrating to the digital environment, something that we have been doing in the analog world in the last 50 years. So still some strange things happen. So I have many examples from customers that say, hey, I go to the merchant I pay with my phone, and then the merchant check my ID, asks me my ID, and hey, when they try just to compare it with the card, so they have no real card, so they have a phone. You show the phone, you show the ID, nothing is the same. So it's something that we need to work a lot on that, just to create this trust environment on merchants and customers.
I mean, would you say, I mean, from the sounds of it, especially Dave, it sounded more like you were talking about the idea of the, I hate the phrase, but like the omni-channel store of people, you know, not going to POSs and dealing with people in store. Instead, they just go around, they scan stuff they want to buy and take it with.
Well, I think if you look at the sort of technology curve, I think it points in that direction. Look, take the example of my local supermarket. My local supermarket is Waitrose. I walk into Waitrose, I swipe a card, that gives me a hand scanner. I walk around scanning things with my hand scanner, and then when I've finished, I hang up the hand scanner and I put my card back in to pay. It seems to me a relatively small technological development, especially since the retailers are going to be installing Bluetooth beacons anyway because they're going to use them for loyalty and couponing. And since there's a Waitrose app on my phone already, it would seem to me to be a very natural way to work, to walk into Waitrose, ask for the self-scanner on my app rather than waving a card through a thing. The self-scanner lights up, I go around and doing my shopping, and then when I've finished, I put the self-scanner back and I just pay on my phone. There's no need to have a point-of-sale terminal in there at all. And if the merchants have invested in other technologies like sales scanning, like the Bluetooth beacons, like the apps, it's surely got to be more attractive to tie those applications together and make them work effectively than to spend money on POS terminals which, you know, won't deliver as good a customer experience.
So the idea is, do you think that mobile wallets and mobile payments especially will be able to sort of remove that jarring experience when shopping?
Well, look, the merchants, the typical retailer, they don't really care about, they care about selling more stuff basically. And the thing that helps them to sell more stuff is loyalty and couponing and customer recognition and these kind of things. And they work very well in a wallet. You know, the idea of a wallet as a kind of central coordinating medium for all of these things is quite strong. But that again points towards the wallet as a common infrastructure rather than as an app in its own right.
That's fair enough. Sort of moving on slightly to sort of the idea of how, I mean, we kind of touched upon it already, really, but you know, how they can improve mobile wallets to make them more ubiquitous and used by everyone. Do you think that maybe something going down the lines of Bitcoin and blockchains could help? I mean, removing the idea of Visa and MasterCard and just either having it as a digital currency or as coming directly from your bank without any middleman?
Well, I mean, I think you're jumbling up two different things there. So, should mobile wallets be able to handle virtual currencies of one form or another? And I think the answer to that is probably yes. And frankly, in some instances, the distinction between, you know, loyalty points and some kind of virtual currency is paper thin at best. So I think yes, that's inevitably going to happen. In fact, you sort of see it in embryo now. When I go into Starbucks and use my Starbucks app, I'm spending Starbucks money that I've already loaded. The second question, which is, could we see the blockchain used in this? I think the answer to that is yes, but probably not for payments.
Okay.
I don't think it's the best solution for retail payments, but it is a good solution to another class of problems, which are to do with managing digital assets. And the idea that you might manage digital assets on a blockchain from your wallet, that actually is quite plausible. You know, people talk about the Internet of Things in this context. The idea that your car keys might actually be effectively a coin on a blockchain somewhere, that's actually quite interesting. So I can see the blockchain having an impact downstream, and I can see virtual currencies having an impact downstream. I'm unconvinced about Bitcoin as a virtual currency, though, and I have to be honest about that.
Well, no, I agree. I think it's the poster boy, but I don't think it's the future.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. I mean, Lewis, what are your opinions on the idea of using the blockchain, or again, just taking out the middleman and having it so the money comes straight from a person's bank account straight to a merchant?
Okay, so on the I basically agree with Dave. So on the I only have a different approach on the cryptocurrencies or the virtual currencies. So that's true that loyalty points are right now virtual currencies. So the big difference is that we don't see in the short term just being able to use things like Bitcoins on wallets, at least on wallets that are supported by banks, because basically we're not allowed just to use any unregulated currency, and Bitcoin right now is not regulated by central banks of any country. So for us, the wallet is a big aggregator of different ways of payments. So I will be able to pay with my Walmart points, or I will be able to use my Starbucks points or whatever, plus the plastic cards, plus any kind of payment. So in Europe, right now we have a big current just to connect the traditional banking systems with the point of sales. So it's something that with SIPA, that is the overall approach that we have in Europe for moving money from one country to another within the European community. So what will happen probably in no later than 2 years is that we will need to support to be able to pay with my current account, with my checking, savings, whatever, in the point of sale. So at the moment of payment, I will say, hey, I want to pay with my credit, with my debit, with my prepaid, or directly against my account. And this is something that will happen in real time. The merchant will have the money in real time, and the money will be withdrawn from my account in real time. So it's something that is going to happen for sure. Basically, the big issue here is also, and again, the customer experience. So when you're on the line, the payment process needs to be as fast as possible. So when you're dealing with many different options, with many different opportunities and features, the line slows. So it's something that is not going to make very happy to the merchants, but it's something that we need to work on that. And as I told before, for me, the wallet is like my real wallet. It's a big aggregator of mobile coupons or offers, information, my ID, plus my payment instruments, plus everything that needs to know after the payment has been done. So I'm sure that many different things will happen in the wallet.
It requires a lot of coordination, though, doesn't it, Lewis? Because I mean, I think to have that long-term vision, that sets the bar quite high. To have a vision as strong as that, most of the things that are in your wallet don't come from the bank.
That's
so
true.
The bank is going to have to work very hard to find a way of integrating those, to just in practical terms, to work out how to bring all of those more identity-related sets of credentials and attributes into the wallet. I think it's fair to say that's quite a difficult problem. It will be hard to do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I agree with you. So that's the reason why we have been working on the open platform for the wallet that we have right now, and we have some agreements with third parties, because the idea is just, hey, we are a bank, so we are able to store information in a secure way. We're able to store the money plus financial and ID and my personal information in a secure environment. So why not I'm able just to create an open platform just to allow third parties to store really important, really trustable information on my systems. I'm as a bank, I'm all regulated, so I'm also needs to be sure that I'm doing the things in the right way. And
have you spoken to many people about that possibility?
Yeah, we have been speaking in the last year probably with like 100 different companies, large companies.
Oh, wow.
Some of them are really open just to interact with the bank and just to be able to store information in the wallet. Others aren't, because they prefer just to create their own experience. So in the same way that, hey, it's my, let's say, Kentucky Fried Chicken, so I prefer just to deliver my experience, not only the picture on the card, but the whole experience. So it's something that we will be working with them, but probably no later than June next year. We will have like 3-4 different large companies in Europe interacting with the wallet. So because we think that we are not going to be able to survive alone without having real and strong agreements with third parties.
That's pretty interesting.
Was that a decision you made from like the beginning when you set out to make the wallet as well?
Well, not in the beginning, but when you have 10 users and you go to speak with any company in the world, says, okay, that's very cool, but came back when you have 1 million customers. So as soon as the customer base is increasing, so the companies are saying, hey, this is something that is really happening. And it seems that you have real success on that space. So in fact, we are now the biggest contactless processor worldwide. We are the biggest. We haven't seen anyone, this is said by Visa and MasterCard, that is processing more contactless payments on the wallet space right now, nor even Google or Apple right now. This will probably change, but right now we are the leaders in that. So this is a good moment just to try to have strong agreements with third parties. And it's something that we need to create ecosystem, not BBVA. We need to create a big ecosystem just to be sure that everyone will be able just to put information on those ecosystems, and then the user will access this ecosystem just to choose what kind of information wants to deliver to the wallet. Because in my case, I love just to have all my information in my wallet, so I usually enter my company BBVA with my wallet because my credentials for accessing the company are on the wallet. And probably why not, if I'm going to go to the Westin Hotel tomorrow, why don't I have my credentials to access my room directly as soon as I check in, okay? But some people, like my father, it's really scared with the situation of having the access to his house on the phone. So basically, the idea is that you need to have in our vision, you need to have one single repository where all different companies are able just to put the information, and then we should be able to access as a client this repository, this big data lake, just to provide information that the user wants. It's one of the ideas.
I mean, do you think that the BBVA is the largest contactless payment company in the world, or platform in the world?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
People trust banks more than they do like Google and Apple, or I mean.
Well, it is not. I think that it is not trust issue. So obviously, people is trusting on banks as they have the money on banks, and we are the safety box of the money of the people. But what usually happens is that what we have found so far is that the user experience is better when you are speaking with the bank, because at least in our case, you just download the application from the bank. You just put your credentials that are the same credentials that you are using for any other system. And in seconds, you have populated all the application with all your products, all your cards, and so on. And you are able just to take a picture of a card of a third party, and this card will be within the wallet. So this is the big difference when you're downloading, let's say, the Google wallet or Apple wallet. So you need to put everything manually right now. So probably this will change in the future. But for the people just to download the application and have all their payment instruments in 1 second, it's something that is very convenient. So that's the big difference between a third-party provider like Apple, Google, or whatever, and a bank, where you already have your payment instruments.
But if you take the example of the hotel, Luis, which I think that's a very interesting example, because at the hotel you're combining identity as well as payments, and the credential that you've paid for the hotel room and so on. These things are all, and you can see that actually in terms of the consumer experience, being able to just walk into the hotel. I mean, I could imagine I walk into the Hilton, because of Bluetooth, my Hilton app opens automatically and confirms that I've got the room. It tells me which room number to go to. I walk to the room, I go straight into the room, and when I go to check out, I check out on the app. Any additional payments then become effectively a card-present transaction that I pay through the app. That's a very attractive experience. I guess the point I was making was to make that experience a reality really requires a lot more work than it sounds at first, because there are so many systems that have to be brought together and integrated. And obviously the technologists can do that sort of thing quite quickly, but then the kind of contracts and the legal arrangements and the business deals are really going to be time consuming. I mean, you said you spent a year talking to organizations already. Are we really looking at something in the region of, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 years to make your vision become more of a reality? Or do you think there's more excitement, more momentum? Maybe it could happen sooner?
Well, in my opinion, what is going to happen is that, well, we are far away from this idyllic vision of the world. But what is going to happen is that we will start seeing things probably in no more than 1 year and a half. Not the whole experience, the holistic experience from moment one to the end, but yes, we will be able just to interact in many different, in some chunks of the whole experience with this approach that you have been speaking about. So let's say that I go to the hotel, so I will have, probably I will need to check in, still I will need to check in, but as soon as I'm checking, instead of having my card, so as soon as I arrive, so I have this e-beacon or any other technology, so we say, hey, Mr. Uguina, welcome to Hilton. I know that you want a special room or it's a suite or whatever. So everything is set. Your room number is 1234, and on your mobile you have all the information. Okay, so we are not going to be able to create the whole experience in one step, but probably in not many months from now, we will see some examples of interacting with technology in a different way, using the phone to make many different things. Probably the checkout will be something else that will be automatic. The check-in will be human handled still, but everything will happen very fast. So we have some examples here in the BBVA campus that we are now they are now in production environment, where you arrive at the campus, and if you have a phone that is NFC enabled, so you are able just to open any door, any authorized door on the campus with your own phone, because everything has happened in almost in real time. So the big thing here is security. Because obviously, if you are going to store on your phone a lot of information, obviously you need just to be sure that this information is not going to be accessible by third parties. And with
you might want it to be accessible to some third parties, but you want that to be under your control. So I think finding a mechanism to give users control over this, I think that would help with the acceptance a lot.
Yeah, that's true. So the vision that we have right now is something like, in the same way that you have the Facebook Connect, let's say that you have the Hilton Connect, or you have the BBVA Connect or whatever. So when you have all your information in this large repository, that could be a bank or Apple or Google or whatever, then says, okay, to say, let's think that says, hey, Hilton want to access your information just to be able to check in real time, or check in a somehow transparent way. If you say yes, this information will be sent to Hilton, and Hilton will be able to access the information that you have allowed Hilton, and only while you are in the hotel. So, and as soon as you leave the hotel, all this information will be no longer accessible for Hilton. So all those things that are happening right now in the real world, so the Facebook Connect or any other Connect OAuth system that we are using every day, LinkedIn or any other social network, it's something that we can provide the same experience on the real world. And obviously the wallet is something that is extremely fashionable for those kind of things, because the idea is that on your wallet you have all your important information. So this is our vision right now.
Okay. It sounds like a step in the right direction, I'd say.
My father says that it sounds really scary.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It sounds very scary. That's where my hesitancy came from. Just sort of to start rounding up the session, I mean, what one key thing would you say that a mobile wallet needs to make it appealing for everyone to start using more? Let's start with you, Dave.
Well, I think one of the keys probably is what I would call branded ubiquity, which is a phrase I learned many years ago when we first tried some experiments with new forms of payments in the guise of Mondex and Visa Cash. Customers need certainty of tender, and there's a couple of different ways you can give that to them. You can either blanket geographically so that everywhere takes the new payment mechanism, or you can do it in specific branded positions so that and what I mean by that is, if I know that my mobile wallet is going to work in every McDonald's, the fact that it doesn't work in Burger King doesn't matter, because as a customer I have certainty. I know what's going on, right? I use Ringo for my car parking. The fact that it works in all of the car parks but doesn't work in the newsagents doesn't matter, right? What as a customer I want is certainty. And so if I was going to try and pick a factor to drive take up, I would say to the people, to the stakeholders, let's focus on some particular brand, whether it's, I always go back to car parking because I remember that was very popular because it solves a real problem. People don't have change in their pockets, If my mobile wallet works and solves a particular problem in a particular area, even if that area is quite narrow, that could be enough to drive take up. And I'll give you an example, which I'm sitting in London, and a very core example in London, of course, is transport, right? Because of Transport for London going over to open loop contactless. Now I can use my bank cards anywhere on transport. I'm sure that's going to drive up contactless acceptance, because now people know they can always use it doesn't matter, the bus, tube, wherever they're going, they can use their contactless card. That drives up the acceptance. And I think in the mobile wallet space, we should probably be looking for similar areas to that. Just even if it's quite a small area, find somewhere where it solves a specific problem, and then customers will start to use it. And once customers start to use it, then they'll begin to want to use it in other areas. But it doesn't have to be some amazing thing that works everywhere. It could be something that works in very specific, perhaps areas where couponing and loyalty are a big deal. And that would suggest, really it would only take one or two of the big retailers. In the UK case, somebody like Tesco or somebody like Sainsbury's might be enough to get the initial traction that you need.
Lewis, what's your take on things?
Yeah, we have coined a term here in BBVA that is called liquid experience. So the idea is that for us, liquid experience is that we need to fully integrate the wallet experience with the everyday processes of the customer. So if the customer needs to do something really strange when they are going to pay, or when they're expecting just to have any information or whatever, this is really something that is going to be used by just a tiny chunk of the customer base. Because what people really want is just to use new technologies like the wallet or even the mobile, just to do the same things that they are doing in their everyday, but faster, cheaper, and more convenient. So if you are going to, my recommendation, my takeaway for anyone that is going to start creating a wallet or whatever, is just to try to be as transparent as possible on the everyday process of the customer. Just do the same thing that the customer is doing right now, but faster and more convenient. If not, if you need to teach the user, if you need to teach the merchant, if you need to teach any of the stakeholders of the ecosystem, probably you will fail, because people really wants to do many things, but they are not. They have no time just to learn different things in a different way.
Oh, thank you. Just very finally, what mistakes have you seen that you think are probably some of the worst? For you, because you've been developing a mobile payments app, you've probably gone through a fair share of iterations to realise stuff that really doesn't work and some stuff that does. And Dave as well. I mean, you've clearly worked with loads of clients who probably have always gone in the wrong direction to start with at some point.
Well, I think if you look at the history of wallet efforts, they've been very focused on the cooperation between the banks and the telcos. That's been the core of the work in the wallet area. And I think that's where things went a bit wonky. So I can remember, oh God, 7 or 8 years ago when we did the first pilots in London with mobile wallets, and that was when people had a Visa card and an Oyster card in their so they could use their phone to ride the bus and tube and to buy cups of coffee. Consumers absolutely loved it. Consumers were never the barrier to the mobile wallet. Consumers have always been happy to pay for things using their mobile phones. I mean, providing it's convenient, not some sort of stupid system. So consumers haven't been the barrier to that. So I would say, and of course, I think it is valuable to pick up lessons from where things went wrong and not just kind of tip-X over them and forget about it. I think there was a problem with the industry as a whole trying to maintain existing structures and imagining they could control it. And so that's ISIS in the US, for example, the various telco bank arrangements in different countries. And of course, that was a huge problem for Google when they tried Google Wallet, because they could only do it on certain phones, and it was blocked on other phones. You couldn't do it with certain operators. And Apple has come along and said, well, let's forget about all of these. We'll just take charge. We'll take charge of it. We'll do the whole thing, and that's transformed the space. So if I would say there are some negative things that we could learn from the future, I think trying too hard to have too much of the pie didn't serve the different stakeholders very well. You ended up with a microscopically small pie, so it didn't matter who had the shares. I think being more realistic about that is a very positive thing. And I think looking at the big picture, like we said at the very beginning of this, when you examine the detailed roadmaps of the different stakeholders, it's very clear that payments aren't the core of the business model. Payments are an enabler that allow you to get into that. And the people that Lewis, and I think many of my clients would probably see as the big competition to the incumbents, are not other banks or even other telcos or other payment schemes. It's Facebook and Amazon and Google and people like that who just have a different business model. And perhaps it took a while for that message to spread around. Well, I think it's there now.
And I mean, Lewis, what have you learned whilst building up BBVA Compass that you think others might?
Yeah, we have learned two, three big things. The first one is payments are universal. It's a universal business. So people is expecting just to be able to pay in the same way or with the same technology everywhere. So you need to think big, but you need to execute the small in the small chunks, just to be sure that you are every step that you make it's a good one. Because if not, what usually happens is that hey, you have a great idea that is going to work very, very good in Madrid, Spain, but then you move to London and it's not working anymore. So people is used just to use the plastic part. This is something that works everywhere in the same way, with the same experience or very, very similar experience. So everything that you develop needs to have this in mind, that payments are something that is not local or domestic, something that is a universal business. So this is the first one. The second one is that you must not underestimate the technology, because it's really important in the new payments and in all the stuff that we have been discussing. Technology is a key concept, but also it's important just to, as you don't need to underestimate the technology. It's also important that you don't focus only on technology. So because technology is cool, when you launch to the market something that is brand new, using the latest technology, with a lot of sparks and whistles and everything. It's good for the PR, but at the end, the customer experience usually is not perfect when you are using technology to the maximum extent, especially because when you use any technology that is really innovative, really new or whatever, the market is not prepared in the terms of that the people is not using this kind of technology right now. So technologies like eBeacon, it's so good because all the people right now has a smartphone that is able just to use this kind of technology with Bluetooth or whatever. So if we move to anything that is something fancy or brand new, probably you will have 0.1% of the market that is able to use that. So no global, no universal, very fancy, but at the end you have not enough people that is able to spread the solution. And the third one is that customer experience drives everything. So regardless the technology, regardless the system, regardless whatever, one of the things that drives everything is customer experience, and this is something that Apple is doing very well. So all the different systems that you have in the market right now use the PIN on the point of sale as the security measure, or they put the PIN on the phone. So Apple comes and says, hey, I will use the fingerprint just to put my finger and then tap my phone against the point of sale. So I think that this is a really good change in the user experience of the payment. The payment is the same. They are interchanging basically the same information. It's tokenized, but it basically is interchanging the same information with the point of sale just to be sure that we can reuse all the international pathways, but the user experience is very good. So this is something that we need to invest a lot of money, a lot of time on that, plus security. Security is something that when you're dealing with payments, with real money that is being delivered from one side to another of the planet in real time, security and trust is something that is mandatory.
Okay. So to sum up our whole discussion, I suppose, the big things are obviously that consumers are not the problem. It's more making the merchants understand and accept. It's making sure you build something that is truly ubiquitous to everyone, and to ensure that you have true customer experience, and that's why people will use it.
Yeah, that's it.
Did you agree with that, Dave?
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and that's it. That's us done.
Great stuff. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for joining.
Talk to you again soon.